Welcome to All About Art. My name is Alexandra, and I'm an art historian, curator, and writer. Within this podcast, topics relating to art history, cultural policy, the art sector, as well as a large range of other art-related topics will be covered. Conducting critical discussions, having entertaining exchanges, or just enjoying some relaxing chats, All About Art is where you'll find it all. Join me in exploring and developing cultural discourse. Welcome, everybody, to a special artist interview with Gretchen Andrew. This episode is in collaboration with ARTPOWHER Contemporary, a collaborative art project initiative that places focus on female identifying and non-binary creatives in the arts. The CEO, Anna Morass, founded ARTPOWHER with the aim of raising awareness about gender stereotypes and gender inequality while inspiring change through creativity and collaborations. Gretchen is best known for her playful hacks of major art world institutions such as Frieze, Art Forum, and the Turner Prize, to name a few. She actively reprograms the artificial intelligence underlying the global internet, and in her new works, which she refers to as vision boards, she explores art and political power structures. She does so by combining her use of raw material and her approach to what is called natural language data, which has allowed the artist to elevate the images of her works to Google's top image search results. While you are listening to this podcast, if you're able, go online and Google the best MFA. You will find a list of the most influential MFA programs in the world, naming institutions such as Columbia, Goldsmiths, Rhode Island School of Design, and more. But if you click on the images, you won't see any images of the schools, but instead you will find at least a dozen of Gretchen's pieces as the top search results. Intrigued? Well, stay tuned to hear more. In this episode, I talked to Gretchen about her work, of course, but also her experiences in the art world as someone who didn't do a fine arts degree. We also talk about her involvement with artificial intelligence, as well as upcoming projects, and more. Thank you to both Anna and Gretchen for this collaboration. And now, on to the interview. So, let's dive right in. I want to begin a little bit chronologically because I find that that's something that's really interesting about your career. So, how did you start in the arts and what's your backstory there?
Yeah, so my decision to go into the arts was very much that. It was a decision that at the time I phrased almost as a performative experiment, I think as a way to protect myself. But at the time, I think I just didn't have any evidence that I could succeed in this area. So I had studied information theory and information systems at Boston College, where I'd gone on a running scholarship and worked in Silicon Valley and in tech through school. So I was at Intuit, and then out of school, I got what should have been my absolute dream job at Google. I want to also bring up that at Google, I was not working in anything where I had any kind of insider information how Google worked. I was part of a human resource information system design team, so we dealt with employee data. So like what I respond to in my work is much more the culture that I experienced in Silicon Valley than any technical information that I received from my time there. But I was so unhappy at Google at what really should have been the perfect job for what I studied, and I studied what I loved, that I started thinking, well, what do I do? I don't want to leave Google and go work for Amazon. Maybe these job things aren't for me. And one of the things I've been responding to within Silicon Valley, within Google, was this feeling of that I had studied the internet because I love it and felt a huge sense of possibility that I felt was more and more just being put into e-commerce and put into consolidating power, and none of this democratizing and excitement that I still very much feel with the internet. So I posed this challenge where I decided, okay, the internet is going to make me into something new, and I decided that thing would be an artist. And so this is why I say it was sort of protecting myself, because there was no reason to believe in myself as an artist, but I could believe in the internet. I could believe in the ability to learn and to use the internet to become something that I wasn't yet. And that's still a huge core to my practice.
Okay, so throughout that history and backstory, there is one big thing, and that is that you don't have an arts degree. So how do you think that this has affected your work? And also maybe how has it affected the success of your work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely, like, you don't know what you don't know when you start out in an industry like this. And the process in which I discovered, I guess, the aspects of professionalization that need to occur in arts was maybe slower. But at the same time, you know, the not having an arts degree to me became something that I had to embrace as a full part of my practice and my identity, instead of trying to sort of hide it or sweep it under the rug. It's so common in the arts to have an advanced degree or an undergraduate degree. And I found that I really wanted to celebrate my own path, even as that path was unfolding. And so it's become really, I guess, core to my practice to think of it as, I mean, it gets labeled as self-taught in the arts, which I think is so funny because I have a honors degree from a great school. It's just not in art. And then I apprenticed with Billy Childish for 5 years. And then, like, I learned a ton from the internet as well. Practice-based research on Stanford online, MoMA online, YouTube videos. Like, I'm not self-taught. I just created this conglomerate of myself. And I think the best art is the most sincere personal reflections of an individual person. And so my career evolved out of both of what I knew and what I didn't know. And putting those things together into one practice is really kind of where we are today.
Okay. So you made a series called Best MFA, which you presented in an online show with ARTPOWHER, who also have a piece available from that series. And it relates to education and going into the arts without that specific ideal career path that we were just talking about, that many seem to place a lot of value on, like having an art or like a fine art or an art history degree. So tell me more about that and how it relates to your artistic practice and also your involvement with artificial intelligence.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So when one of the power structures that I love to hack in my practice and in my work and to address is the art world power structures themselves. So I address the internet, I address political power, big tech, etc., gender. But when I knew nothing about the art world, my mom got me this book that I think she'd read about in the newspaper called 7 Days in the Art World by Sarah Thornton. And this book goes through 7 different structures that existed within the art world. The art fair, the art prize, the biennale. And I knew, like, this was all complete shocking to me, this book, like, which I don't even, you know, it's the best thing I think to this day to describe the system of the art world. And so even before my practice directly addressed hacking the art world, this is where I learned about it. And one of the institutions described in this book is the MFA, or the Graduate Art School Crit. And it really took me getting to this place in my career before I wanted to both address and celebrate having decided to take my own path. It never felt necessarily like my own path at the time. It was just what was available to me, what I was able to do with my time, what I was able to pay for, where I was able to be accepted, and like the ability to do that and celebrate it, I think also gives a lot of permission to other people who, not just other artists, but other people in the art world also who, like Anna, don't have a quote unquote traditional career background and are approaching it just from their own unique passions. And I think that's really where art is best, is when we come to them from our unique journeys and our unique passions.
Nice.
Oh, and AI.
Yeah.
So what does this have to do with AI? Yeah, I actually didn't really thought about this so much before, because obviously in my practice I address AI and reprogram AI. But it is interesting to think about, like, because I do, like, in my practice, I'm essentially re-educating the artificial intelligence that underlies the global internet. And I re-educate it based on my experience, what I value. And I am sort of, I guess, like making AI go to art school. I am bringing AI to art museums. I'm inflicting otherness and I call it productive uncertainty into the brain of AI, which is, I think, what art does for us as people. as we consume it, as we look at it, as we make it part of our lives, as we purchase it, as we decide to value it, both through like economic and time forces. And yeah, forcing AI to do that same thing is like in a way a defense of a liberal education. I mean, liberal arts education, for not just us as humans and us as society, but for artificial intelligence as well.
Mm-hmm. So when you work with AI and when you implement it, how do you feel when you use it? Do you see it as a tool, or do you see it as something more? Do you see it as a form of, I don't know, creative collaboration?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the huge points that I would like to change the conversation around AI, is that it's not just a reactive and predictive force. Most of the time we're using AI to predict or to ease through prediction. And AI, especially as we educate it, will more and more become a creative force, a creationary force in our world, in our technology. Some artists are showing this by having AI create art or defining sets of inputs and outputs. But I think of it more in terms of the way that AI will be a force within our culture and within our societies that is one that impacts its direction as it's creating these outputs.
Right. And how this is kind of going a little bit off script here, but when we talk about like bias within AI, and are you saying that, just, you know, in layman terms here from someone who doesn't understand too much about it, although I did do a little bit of research, the more that AI gets educated and the more information gets fed into an AI, the more that you say it acquires a sort of creative agency, it acquires a little bit more power and I don't know, agency, I guess, is the best word for it.
Yeah, well, so I mean, in complete layman's terms, like AI is a system where acceptable inputs and acceptable outputs have been predefined. So
right.
If it's learning to identify what a cancerous mole looks like, it'll be trained by a whole bunch of photos of moles and say an acceptable output is cancerous, not cancerous. And that what actually happens in between those two systems is a little bit of a black box, even to the people who create it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the way that can be used, I don't think it necessarily means that the more inputs into AI create more agency or a higher likelihood to be creative. It's not really a quantity game for me or a quality game. I'm interested in getting as much bias and as much perspective into AI as possible. Right now, there's a lot of effort being made to take out bias from data sets. Yeah. And I just think it's impossible. So we should be getting other people's opinions on reality into these data sets. We should be thinking more about how oral knowledge and like traditional knowledge and non-internet knowledge can be put into AI, such as art, such as whole museum collections, which of course have their own bias, but are better than what is educating most of our AI right now, which is saleable e-commerce products, is how most of our AI is being educated.
Okay.
And this is based on not just stuff that exists, but stuff that's been bothered to be collected and measured. And our human knowledge is so much more vast than that. Like, how do we educate AI that's on content that's not on the internet, or that's not in data sets? What isn't in data sets and why isn't it in data sets, I think, are some of the most like pertinent questions for this.
Yeah. And are you searching for the answers through your artistic practice as best you can?
Yeah, I mean, like the answer for this question to me is to do this in a particular way with a focus on the world that I want, in a way that is intentionally portrayed and performatively self-involved, so that it becomes clear that anyone with this kind of desire to inflict their own desires onto the world can do it. Like, and I obviously know that I'm relatively well educated on these topics, but my power is always going to be significantly less to, the United States president or Mark Zuckerberg or like, and I think it shows people that like, okay, I'm now an input that is stronger than all the other inputs, but like, the solution isn't to like stop people like me from acting upon systems. It's to have more people creating more inputs from totally different perspectives.
Right. So when it comes to what you've done so far with your work, what's been the most exciting or fun project that you've worked on, and why?
Ooh. Well, I think making the vision boards about the U.S. presidential election was really meaningful to me. Basically, I decided what characteristics I wanted in the next American president, and then used my vision boards about that, and then my series of websites and natural language processing and SEO, which is search engine optimization, to make those become the top search results for the search the next American president. And I mean, like, it was such a fun project for me, in part because of the response to it. Like, I had been using my paintings and my work to hack search engines for years before there was much momentum in my career, and there wasn't really momentum until I turned my process onto the art world itself. But before that, I had been doing a lot more political work about how women are represented online, and the U.S. presidential hack for me was a way back into those questions of political power structures that are definitely inherently part of the way that I explore the art world and I manipulate the art world. Like, it's all in there, but I felt a little bit liberating to have spent enough focus on the art world itself that I could start expanding the conversation into some of these more activist areas that I care a lot about as well.
Yeah. I think that that's something that really resonates with me when I interact with your works, because I think that the art that interests me a lot are the works that really have something to do with politics or generally with like socio-political themes and issues, and that's why contemporary art interests me so much. So that's something that I find really interesting and important. And actually, a lot of people may disagree with me when I say that I think that when you really delve into it and look at contemporary art practice from, I would say, all artists, it does sort of encompass the current circumstances that they're in. So it has some commentary on how we live, what we're doing, the politics, just everything, no matter how you look at it. But of course, I'm sure that there's someone that's disagreeing with me, like either an artist or an art historian or someone saying, that's probably not too accurate, and it's like a gross overgeneralization. But at the same time, like, I do think that it's encompassed.
Yeah, I think like something that's important for me in my work and in my life as well, that I don't want my work to look political. I don't want my work to look activist. I don't want to. I think that a lot of the power of my work is its almost insidious relationship to its activism, where it's about luxury, and it's about like me, and it's about like champagne, and it's about money, and all of these things that seem like the opposite of an activist life or practice. And I think that's what makes it successful in its activism, is that it doesn't get dismissed as a political message turned into art. It is art that has political messages sewn into its fabric in a certain way, and in a way that doesn't prescribe to the aesthetic of what that needs to look like or who needs to make that.
Right. So do you have any fun projects coming up that you're really excited about?
Oh, of course.
I mean, I know that I'm personally really excited for your exhibition in Linz in Austria.
Yeah. Well, so like, my next big exhibition is in Linz, outside Vienna, and it's at the Francisco Carolinum. I've got 3 huge rooms of a gorgeous museum there that I'm going to be hacking, continue the hack of my Map of the EU series, which I started with my show with Anka Kolti, but also like always this exhibition was the original target for that. So just as timelines and dates got shifted around, I included some of that work in Anka's show. And then also hacking contemporary art auction record, which obviously addresses the auction house and money and the power that's associated with that. But then also something really important to me there, and I think also why like my work and ARTPOWHER and like the conversations that really brought us together and the introductions that we received to work together on this podcast is like women make up less than 2% of the contemporary art market, dollar for dollar. And that, so I see hacking the auction records, but then also I see getting paid as a very important feminist thing, especially in the arts. And
yes, I will just second that. Yes.
Yeah, and like it's like another one of these taboos that I'm playing with. Like as an artist, like I'm not supposed to talk about how I want to be successful. I'm not supposed to talk about money, and I just think that's really insincere to who I am and insincere to, I think, my aspirations. But then, like I said, like especially for women, I think getting paid is has political implications and is something that I'm more and more folding into, I guess, the way I demand my practice to unfold.
Yeah. I think that one of the reasons why there's such a big gap when it comes to talking about getting paid, and why it's like, oh, you know, an artist shouldn't want to seek out this like monetary success or something like that, is because of the art world's like push against capitalism and, I don't know, making art be a consumer product. But like at the same time, this is like blatantly said, this is the world that we live in, and like it is, I think that it's important to encourage something like that so that more people are encouraged to go into the arts, because there are more prospects to actually make a career. And then I think if more people are encouraged to engage and to enter into it, both, you know, professionally and in their leisure time, I think that that's something that will really make the sector grow, instead of pushing against all of this, oh, you know, let's go against, for example, art business. But then, as you say, with the fact that, you know, women are really underrepresented, and there are a lot of problems that still need to be solved in that area as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the push against capitalism is insincere and hurts women more. A lot of people make a lot of money in art, and deciding to be one of those people, and just like, it's not like there isn't a powerful system that is very wealthy. It's a powerful system that's very wealthy, in which the feelings that we need to oppose it, I'm, you know, in the same way I think of the art world as a system and the internet as a system, I think of capitalism as a system, and I'm never trying to, at least as a first step, dismantle any of these systems. I'm trying to make the systems work for me. I need the rules, I need the algorithms so I can navigate and find ways to thrive within them. But I also frame my whole practice as it relates to my life's work of getting paid to be myself, and getting like I think that is my definition of what I want to be as an artist, and especially that, like, I guess, like, especially coming from tech, where I didn't feel, well, I was getting paid well, but I didn't feel like I could be myself in that environment. And to find these zones where you can be yourself and get rewarded for it, I think are like a whole system of art and problem solving in of itself.
I was speaking to Anna, the founder and CEO of ARTPOWHER, and she mentioned she had a question about installation art, which is a really unique and extensive way to experience works of art. Is this something you're considering, and can we hope to see an immersive, interactive presentation of your works anytime soon?
I almost wonder if I've told you about this before. Because, yeah, the like before COVID, I had an exhibition where the gallery wall became a community vision board, and this is something that was planned for the Monterey Museum of Art and was planned for Anka's gallery, but it's just not been a time of mass gatherings and sharing of glue guns. So it's been more and more delayed, but that is the plan in Linz, is make one of the rooms imagine you walk in and there's a huge pile of materials on the floor. There are ladders, there are glue guns, there are pens, there are crayons, and all of the walls are meant to be a community vision board where anyone can express their desires and add their own images. And I've, like I said, did this in May of 2019 at the LA Center for Digital Art, and it was just such a beautiful success. I can't wait to do it on a bigger scale, and the impact is really just, like I said, my work is supposedly all about me, but it's also about giving permission to other people to feel empowered for, getting in touch with what it is they want. And I think whether or not you program it through the internet, or you build a career, or you make a team of people who can help you, the first step is always to identify what you want. And that isn't a technical system, but that's a system that I think in at least how I grew up, like is really, really beneficial to encourage more people into. Like the world that we want, like, right? Like the art, we talk about this too, like the art world that we want. Like when people get upset about like, oh, the type of person who succeeds in the art world, or like, all dealers are like this or whatever. I just like, this is where we've chosen to spend our lives. This is where I've chosen to make culture. And I'm not out to blow up the system, but I know they're like, it's one of my affirmations, like there are good people in the art world, and every day I let them know I exist. And that is something that has only become more and more true as I've fought with myself to believe it.
Well, alle Achtung to everyone in Austria, because you should definitely be looking out for the exhibition. When is it going to be?
It opens October 12th and it runs through February 27th.
All right. Well, everyone, you will find me on October 12th in Linz.
Yes, and it's a little bit like COVID depending, obviously.
Yeah.
But I was told that normally the exhibitions at this museum have live music and dignitaries at them, and I just felt that was such a funny anchoring of two things. But when I was talking to the curator about my vision for the opening, I did say black tie, champagne, and my friends. So.
Oh, well, that sounds fabulous. Your artworks are incredibly intricate. For the listeners who haven't seen them, Gretchen's works are very detailed and are comprised of a conglomeration of objects that are brought together to form a whole composition. They're busy and they're full, and the longer you look at them, the more you discover. I really suggest heading over to Gretchen's website or social media to go have a look, and I'll make sure to link those in the podcast description for easy access. But Gretchen, knowing how detailed your works are and how many intricate things come together to form an entire piece, how do you conserve your artworks? Like, if a collector were to purchase one and let's say something falls off, how should they proceed?
Yeah, I do a lot of attention to, like, things don't just tumble off of these, right? They're all, like, adhesively glued. It's on primed canvas. They're actually more traditional in their art objectness than they might appear. A lot of it is charcoal on canvas, like with, high quality stretcher bars and everything. So I guess the first point is like things do not generally tumble off of these, especially like in the way that they're shipped and packed and everything. I've been experimenting and having the opportunity to ship them around the world this last year, and been very pleased to find out that they really survive well. At the same time, like I understand that there is a nervousness around anything that is not completely traditional in medium. And so I've worked really closely with the Monterey Museum of Art, was the first museum to acquire work into its permanent collection. And I worked really closely with their conservation department to create a document that essentially doesn't impact its value or moral rights or anything should anything happen to the materials over time. However, like, compared to most artist materials, like I use a lot of plastic, I use a lot of fabric. These are materials with huge staying power in the way that they adjust to time, and they're symbols of luxury and they're symbols of elegance. And because my work exists in this digital performative way, the images themselves are made with such care and intricacy that their lives are just broader than any individual gem, we'll say.
Now that I'm sitting here, also going a bit off script, but whatever, because for a little bit of context for listeners, I'm sitting in Gretchen's studio and we are looking at one of her pieces. I'm sitting very closely to it and I'm seeing a lot of different aspects. Like, these are definitely fake $100 bills, right?
Yes. Those are fake $100 bills. And it's funny because I was sort of thinking, wouldn't it be funny if I put one real one in there?
Yeah.
But I think like my work is so much about what I don't have that it's the idea is that it is all symbols of aspiration. And so it's not like I'm not using $100 bills just because I don't have piles of them, but also the purpose is to bring these things forth into my life through the internet.
Yeah. But you also, from what I've noticed from looking at other works that you've done, is you use a lot of things that I find like that we would know out of our childhood. Like there's a lot of like toys or little objects or clips, like hair clips and things like that. And so as like an art historian and someone who is kind of trained to look and interpret things, does that actually have any commentary on is this a form of recycling different objects also from the past? Or am I just completely reading stuff into your works and you're like, oh, good point, but no, not really?
Well, I mean, the primary objective with the materials that I select are to have them be feminine and trivial, crafty, symbols of celebration, symbols of luxury. Like, instead of having a real diamond on there, I have a diamond that I cut out of a magazine. These are things that I don't readily have en masse. Most of the materials come from Los Angeles is fashion and craft district, where this stuff is wholesale, and a lot of flowers. But it's interesting. I don't have it in my studio right now, and occasionally you can see them on my Instagram. But the beginning of these works is almost a fairly traditional charcoal drawing on canvas.
So that's like the beginning of your process.
Kind of, yeah. Some of them start differently, but there's always a stage in them in which they look like they're about to become traditional oil paintings, and then they don't. They take this total turn through the use of these materials, through applying things that are not traditional art materials and are traditionally associated, not necessarily with the feminine, although that's often the case, but things that are not associated with digital art, that are not associated with artificial intelligence art, things that look not at all like what they're capable of. Like this thing covered in fabric dragonflies and fake money and iron-on stickers that say, "At least you're cool on the internet."
Yes. I saw that before. It's right by my head, and I'm like, like they hitting me where it hurts.
They don't look like they can manipulate the global internet, but they can. And that's how I feel as a person in this world, as a person in tech. I never was taken for someone who was capable of the things I felt myself and knew myself to be capable of. So I really wanted to find an art that almost called out the elephant in the room and said, yes, this is feminine. Yes, it doesn't look like what you expect it to look like. It looks so much like you don't expect it to look like for AI art. Yeah. That maybe we can then get to the conversation faster without having to go through the, wait, but you made it and you're a woman and you like Taylor Swift. And so if you like Taylor Swift and you like romantic comedies, then can you really be smarter than Google? But it's this thing that actually happens in our culture, in our heads, but it just skips right to the thing of almost I wanted, when I started making these, to dare people to dismiss them. Go ahead, I dare you, because it is smarter than the internet, and it manipulates all of Google, and I'm working on a series coming up that will do the same thing with other social media, specifically Instagram and Facebook, and it's just it's go ahead, dismiss it, tell me that this is trivial.
Oh, I had to stifle my laughter a little bit, so that I couldn't
I know you have to say that At Least You're Cool on the Internet is a iron-on patch that my friend Sasha gave me, and so some of my materials I do. People give them to me. I acquire them. The champagne wire hoods and corks are always from champagne that I've had with friends and family. And
love it.
There is some reapplying of things that exist in my life into them for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote my undergrad diss on AI and art, and I kind of wish I would have written a chapter on you. That would have been really, really fun. Hey,
next time
I'll just write an essay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the future of your career, how do you see your artistic practice evolving? And I ask this because your work is very tied to technology, and that's ever evolving, and it's very, very fast. So what direction do you see that going?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to continue in a lot of the veins that I've been continuing, and I think it takes a lot of time and exposure to have the conversations that I want to be having with these works. And I've been enjoying the focus and the dedication to both the aesthetic and to the principles and activism that underlie them. I've really only been making vision boards for a year and a half now. So even though I've been doing the internet manipulation process and making these oil paintings and existing in the art world to some extent, these have so much more life. Going into installation with them, public art with them is going to be really exciting for me. But I think as that continues, it's almost a matter of zooming out and not just saying, oh, I work with search engines, oh, I work with AI, I work with power, I work with institutional critique. And I like to think about my practice as existing in that tradition, especially of institutional critique, especially of charcoal on canvas, because a lot of what we're dealing with now with technology, it's not new. It's just in a different form with a different set of cultural and contemporary things we're responding to. But it is a response to power, and it is a response to a critique of that power, even as I'm using it to kind of accrue my own power. There's like a whole history that this comes from.
I kind of want to leave it there because that was a pretty epic statement, but I do have one final question for you.
I'll try and make my answer even more epic.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to enter the art world professionally?
I would say that the absolute first thing you should do is resolve to find good people to learn from and work with, and to not tolerate any cynicism within yourself or with other people that you associate and work with. Obviously, there's critique and there are things to change and there's a reality to it. But to define whatever your role is that you want, make a vision board for the gallerists you want to work with. Make the vision board for the gallerists you want to be. Make a vision board for the kind of artist that you want to write about. Like whatever the role is, make a decision that you want it to be one where you work with people that you love being with. And I think about my career as this rustic dinner table that I want people to spend hours at together. So it's important to me not just that I work with great people, but that they get along and want to hang out together and consider themselves as part of making a reality, which is, I think, what I do on canvas, but then also how I try and operate the career. And it's like, you'll find people. If you believe in them, you will find them out because they're out there.
Well, shit, though, that was as epic as the other one. I kind of want to go home now and create a vision board and,
I'll give you some of my fake money to put on it because that should be on everyone's vision board as well.
Perfect. Yes. First step, check. Got the money. All right. Well, that concludes my interview with you, Gretchen. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
And thank you for having me, and to Anna from ARTPOWHER for our introduction.
Yes.
It's been great to get to know both of you virtually over the last year, and it's really great that we can actually be sitting in person together right now.
It does. My first in-person interview. Oh, how awesome. And that is it for today on All About Art. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a rating or a review, as it helps more people discover the show. Also, feel free to share with your friends, or if you share on social media, tag me and get in touch. Thank you so much for listening.